Hey, what's going on, guys? Back again with a new video today to talk about some more Naughty Dog stuff. Of course, it's been a little bit, of course, since the last video, which was The Last of Us Day 2024. We talked about a lot of merchandise, of course, posters. Last was HBO Season 2. Lots of good stuff they announced for Last of Us Day 2024. It was awesome. Now, it's been about a month, and so, there hasn't been that much information for what Naughty Dog is currently making. We, of course, can make speculations here and there about what they're making. Of course, I like to assume it's the new IP. But as of today, we do have something to talk about on their next game and what that could exactly be like. So let's jump right into it. So a YouTube channel known as MinMax had one of its hosts, Ben Hansen, who is a really reliable source in the video game industries, shared a bit of information on Naughty Dog's next game and what the game will be like. He talked about this information on his MinMax show video about 4 days ago, but a lot of news outlets just caught this news as of like 2 or 3 days ago, so it's really recent stuff. And I just wanted to go over on what exactly he said in quotes, so this is what he had to say. I'm not going to say the game that's referenced to compare it to, because I don't want people to be like MinMax said it's going to be exactly like this. But they compared it to a game with a lot of player freedom. Hansen added that the game Naughty Dog's upcoming title was compared to wasn't Hitman. Okay, so to give you a bit of context, Ben Hansen is saying that he doesn't want to say what exactly this genre type of game will be like for Naughty Dog's next title, stating that he doesn't want people to look back on his statement, so he's not going to give out exactly what Naughty Dog's game's going to be like, but he did say these last words in his statement that they compared to a game with a lot of player freedom. That pretty much tells us that Naughty Dog's next game will include a lot of player freedom. Now, this can mean anything, of course. Naughty Dog has been mainly focusing on linear single-player narrative-driven games for a while now. If you look at The Last Part 2, Uncharted 4, Uncharted Lost Legacy, those are all games that have pretty standard linear spaces. But of course, they definitely have delved into the open world genre a little bit. If you look at their semi-open world levels in The Last Part 2 or even Uncharted 4, including Lost Legacy, they definitely have explored these type of ideas with Lost Part 2 in the Seattle Day 1 for Ellie, or Madagascar in Uncharted 4, so they've explored a little bit with this, but they haven't delved into it as much. Sure, you may be able to find some Easter eggs or some collectibles in these linear open world levels, but none of them really gave you any sort of reward or some sort of story progression or deeper lore into these worlds like some other games do, such as Dark Souls or Bloodborne. They essentially want their next game to be almost as similar as those type of games. Of course, it may not be exactly like a Dark Souls or a Bloodborne type of narrative, but they do want to explore that sort of idea with their next game rather than it be your traditional single-player narrative linear game like they're usually doing. They allow players to explore the open world, giving them freedom to just kind of roam around and see what they could find and kind of figure out the world itself while they're playing the game. Which, to be surprised, this isn't actually the first time of them talking about this before. Naughty Dog's vice president, Neil Druckmann, did state, as of last year, that he'd like to focus on less traditional narratives in future projects.
I do think I'm more recently intrigued by stuff like Elden Ring and Inside that doesn't rely as much on traditional narrative to tell its story, and I think there's some of the best storytelling in The Last of Us. Yes, a lot of it is in the cinematics, but a lot of it is in gameplay and moving around the space and understanding a history of a space by just looking at it and examining it. And to me, that's right now is some of the best joy I get out of games that trust their audience to figure things out, that don't hold their hand. That's the stuff I'm really intrigued by going forward. And again, it doesn't mean we will never have dialogue or cutscenes. I think those are tools in your toolbox. Okay. And it's about how to use all these different aspects, some of it from other medium, some of it found notes and environmental storytelling. And I think there's a way to push that stuff forward, at least for the kind of games that we make at Naughty Dog. I'm really intrigued. Again, never resting on our laurels and trying something a little bit new, a little bit different that not everyone's going to like, but that's okay. And again, it's stuff that we're working on now. I can tell you that the teams are very excited by the different projects we have at Naughty Dog.
So with that interview about a year ago, that just proves some more evidence that we will get something similar to those type of games for the next Naughty Dog title, and to just even prove out some more points. A few months back, with the release of Last Part 2 Remastered, we did also get the Grounded 2 documentary, which goes into full scopes about the Last Part 2's development. In the actual documentary, we got to see some early footage of Last Part 2's gameplay, and exactly how Naughty Dog wanted to develop this game. So about 4 to 6 months into development for Part 2, Bloodborne was actually the inspiration for Last Part 2. Part 2 was supposed to be a completely brand new different game, a different type of game apart from the first game. It was supposed to be completely open world, similar to Bloodborne in a way where the players can explore the whole world, rather than it being the traditional Naughty Dog level formula that we're all used to, of course. This was only 4 to 6 months into development of Part 2, so they wanted to completely make this into a completely brand new game for Last of Us, not similar to the original. But of course, this idea did not happen because the open world and the story that they're trying to push for this game just weren't coming aligned together, so they decided to scrap this idea. But this idea still hasn't left the table just yet because while it didn't work for Last Part 2 back during development in 2016, Naughty Dog is now given the chance to give it the opportunity to make the brand new game, which I would assume is the IP, to be this open world type of game where players can just explore wherever they want to go. It's definitely an idea they've been wanting to do for some time now. Now with them working on their next game, they can finally explore this idea and try to push a different way of how they do their narratives, being open world type of game, which is kind of insane that this has just been an idea that's been on their minds for so long now. Now is the time we're definitely going to be seeing this idea come to fruition. I do think with this approach that Naughty Dog is going to be doing for their next game is going to be quite controversial because obviously we do have people that do enjoy the standard Naughty Dog formula, which is single player, narrative-driven linear games. Of course, I love, but at the same time, I do want to see the studio evolve and try to do different ways of making games in terms of pushing the narrative, but then also trying to take a bit of risks with their games, not having to stick to just the same formula every single time. So this will definitely be a fresh take. I do want to see how this will play out, so we'll just see how that goes. I do think with Naughty Dog doing this now, this will definitely broaden the audience that they have to an even more wider audience, especially for people that like those type of games where players can explore the whole world themselves rather than it being a linear type of story. They're definitely a studio that isn't afraid to try to do some risks. I mean, obviously with Part 2, but with this new approach of making games and how they evolve with their storytelling, I honestly just can't wait to see on how this is going to turn out. Obviously, we'll see how it plays out for them. They're willing to try new things, and honestly, that's all that matters really. Whether it turns out really well or not, I'm still there, of course, day one for whatever they have to release, of course. But with no doubt, I definitely think Naughty Dog will pull this off, considering that they are some of the best in the games industry. So we'll just have to wait and see on how that game will turn out. Hopefully we get an announcement by next year. I definitely think by next year we'll definitely get an announcement. Hopefully so. I just want a new Naughty Dog game so bad, so hopefully soon. But alright guys, that is it for this video. Just wanted to give you guys some information on Naughty Dog's next game being a more player freedom type of game, and just letting you know my thoughts on that. Be sure to like the video if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you enjoy some more Naughty Dog, Last of Us, Uncharted videos. Be sure to also hit the notification bell as well whenever I upload a video. And also be sure to follow the socials as well. Links in the description below. Let me know your thoughts on everything on Naughty Dog's next game. But alright guys, till then, I will see you guys next time.